Hey guys, Leaf Erickson Sears here, and I'll be going over 300 cards, bulk cards that I'm sending in the CGC, and some of like the higher end stuff. But it is quite the mix, so it should be pretty interesting to go through. And at the end of the day, I like having these videos for reference for myself, because as you know, it takes months. You know, you've always seen me buy hyper rare, so keep grading those. These full arts from EV Heroes, they're really nice. You know, popular Pokemon. You can't really go wrong with the evolutions. They're just, you know, kind of fan favorites in that regard. And along with being fan favorites, it's just nice artwork. The Sword and Shield full arts are really cool because unlike the Sun and Moon era, where they just match the color of the back of the card to the front, they actually added patterns and stuff, so they do stand out. And then I personally love alt arts. I think that's a super popular opinion that alt arts are amazing, part of the hobby. And part of like collecting modern. So sending in a bunch of Golurks, a couple of those, Blissey V's. And these I always thought were like kind of the precursor. They are technically alt arts too, because there is like a basic version of this card, and then this is the alternate. I believe this is one of the alternate arts for it. I think this card, oh no, there's a Celebi one. Yeah, this is the alternate clay version, really like that. And then I've had so much old back sitting around from like months ago when I purchased it, so I'm slowly dwindling through that. Oh, nice that hollow is. Some Lucky Stadiums, just old back. These are glossy movie promos. This is technically a set card, but it's like a promotional set. More promos, Moltres Zapdos Articuno. You just know I love this card, and I mean they got so cheap in English. That I just kept buying them up. Endrzel full art. Then so as I mentioned, the Sun and Moon full arts really kind of are lackluster, but then the X and Y full arts are super nice. They're dark. They're really dark. You can kind of see that, but just nice poses. Like look how boring these two are in comparison. The Gallade is nice and animated and looks really smooth. This is, I don't know. I bought a bunch of these Amphiroses just with the understanding of how popular Ampharos was. These are like weird ones too. These are all technically like set release cards, set pre-release promos. So I believe these all came from just purchasing packs for those Sun and Moon sets when they came out. And the very obvious comparison is just these Sandacondas. These are also an alternate art promo card, but these were, I forget the set. It was around, they came from the same but same exact set that the Celebi came from. Because like, we get one master set, and Japanese gets pretty much every set split into two different versions. Snarl, these are set cards, just some shinies. These are definitely more questionable. The prices on all this stuff are really down bad. I think kind of the reason for the shinies to do so bad is just there's so many, and people know. Everyone went in with the expectation that they'd be popular and that they should grade them. So there's just so many graded copies out there. And most of the people that I know collecting shinies right now, they're not buying slabs. They're not paying $20 for a slab. They're paying $1.50 for the single, and they're just doing binder sets. Rocket's Mew. I always found it weird that Magnemite got a hollow. One of my favorite artworks. And then Typhlosion. And I guess if you're curious too, if you ever are looking on Macari or Japan and you see this card, check the damage here. So this is technically an error version that says 60, but just so you know, the error is the really, really common version. It should say 60 plus, you know, right there. It should say 60 plus, but they didn't correct that until very, very late in the print run for the set. So if you ever find one that says 60 plus, just know it's the rarer version, and those typically go from like, 120, I would say, to 150. That's just something I would recommend looking in lots for that, because you can typically find that type of stuff. Some more, I think this is black and white. This is XY2, full art. These are quite old now, 2014. One of my favorites, just this Dene. Another card that's just alternate art that they just do a good job with. One of the best, I think, X and Y full arts. Just this Gengar. And you can really see how dark these cards are. I don't know why the X and Y era was so dark. Even the black and white full arts have like really bad contrast levels, really bad curves. Some Snorlaxes. Then we're gonna go through some more old back. I think old back is something else that's always going to have a fan base, and especially it's really easy thing to explain to people the value of. And what I mean by that is, like, if people see these old back cards in a slab, they'll just be like, they'll look at the card and they'll look at the age of the card and be like, oh, that card makes sense for $40 because it's from 1997, 1998. And then it's just a lot harder to explain to people why a more modern card should be worth around that. I don't know. That's just my very bare bones explanation. And I think there's always going to be collectors of old back because of that. As people, I think new people enter the hobby, they'll be like, oh, look, I can get this card from 97. It must be valuable. It must be a good deal, considering it's over 20 years old. But in reality, there's so many old backs around. And this is more so my favorite era. The combination of level X's, EXs, and, of course, Delta Species. I wish I could purchase more Delta Species, but, dude, this stuff is so expensive for the holos. Giovanni's Exiles. This is a friend recommended it to me. It's just, I think this card is like $1.20 in English. But, you know, Giovanni is still probably the most, you know, popular and famous of the crime bosses, the team bosses in all of the Pokemon games. I would say really the closest one to that is maybe Cyrus from Diamond and Pearl, Flygon, and then Archie and Maxie from Ruby Sapphire. Oh, this is a beautiful full art too, from Black and White 4. This one just, it feels premium. And the reason I say this, like, look, the fact that the outline of the card itself is done in that gold is really nice. If you watch my videos, you kind of just begin to understand what I have and what I grade. Lots of promos, man. This was, I believe the English name is Touch Change. This was from a tournament in 1998, I believe. It just, I think people sometimes misunderstand when I say stuff is from a tournament to say it's like a trophy or a prize. It really very much is just a participation card. And a lot of people, I mean, the game was popular, so there are a lot of those cards floating around. More Hyper Rares. Hyper Rares are probably one of the more questionable things that I purchased. For popular Pokemon, I think they make sense, but I've just noticed on my end, the sales for Japanese Hyper Rares have been really slow. But the thing is, the English Hyper Rares are still selling consistently for what I consider like absurd prices for them. And I don't know if the market's just lagging. The Skarmory is also XY1. You can see what I'm talking about as well. The outline is in that gold. It looks and just feels a little bit more premium than the later XY, than especially Sun and Moon full art. Just shinies. I have so many of these. I was speccing super hard into the Ultra Shiny GX cards. Mostly because the sealed product had moved up so much in value, but in hindsight, like, I don't know, in hindsight, these cards are just cheap because there's so many. And I think that's something that took me a long time to really, I think that's something I'm learning more as I go on. Just total supply of cards, understanding how that will affect the price point after grading, and then understanding the amount of demand, and then also realizing, like, maybe some people don't want the cards graded. There are people who just collect raw, and especially with this stuff like this, same thing with Shining Fates and Shining Star V, is like, that set presents really well in a binder. So a lot of the collectors of that set want them raw to throw in their binders. Really nice Eevee artwork. Ninetales from base set. I think this is Channeler, and then Looker. And then we're ending these piles with some more promos. Just the Crobat VMAXs from the Shining Fates, like Crobat boxes. Sorry about that. So obviously you know too, if you've watched my previous submissions, that I submit some stuff in top loaders. This is all old cards that I've had in top loaders, but I've more or less transitioned away from that because it felt like a waste of money to spend hundreds on top loaders. And then, I mean, once I send the top loaders to CGC, they just throw them out. So I've been submitting everything in team bags, and you can just see on the team bags, I write the order that the team bag should be in, and then the exact cards that are in each team bag. So I don't know. I think this way is also pretty easy, because at the end of the day too, the CGC employees, when they unbox these submissions, they have to take all the cards out of the card savers regardless. And there's so many factors, like maybe they damage it in the card saver from trying to pull it out. It creates extra waste by having to send them card savers. It makes the packages way more. It costs me more to ship them. It costs me more to get the card savers. It just seems all around that this is a more streamlined method. It's much easier for me too. So we just sent Blastoise, Charmeleon, not shiny, Secret Rares, Dusknoir. Really like this Ludicolo artwork. Magnezone, Kabutops from Fire Leaf Green. This is just like a bunch of base set Blastoise. I think these were like less than $10 a piece. But I was like, okay. I mean, base set Blastoise is just one of the most popular starters, and to pay single digits for base set any condition, I think is fine. More Dusknoir. Dang, these cards all stick together too, which is a little annoying. Oh, and the Metagross. I think that's it for this one. Yeah. As you're watching too, you'll notice that I send in so many duplicates of cards. Part of the reason for that is it's way easier to just like when you're doing these submission forms, you have to search each card individually and then input the amount, and it makes it so much easier if you just submit a bunch of the same card at once. In terms of like the amount of time it takes to fill out the form, and then that's like the main reason for me. And it's also like, okay, I already have all these cards anyway, and I do plan to grade all of these, so like just get them out of the way and do them all at once. But like for some of the Pokemon, it makes sense. Like you saw, I sent a bunch of Kabutops in that last one, and a bunch of Metagross. But like, I think this is Finian. This is Finian. I don't even know if it's worth grading that many Finian, because how many people do I realistically think are Finian collectors? I'm gonna guess quite a few amount. Not that many, maybe single digits if that. But I guess we'll have to see. This is also like partially an experiment to kind of understand what cards are still worth grading and picking up. The thing is, I say stuff is an experiment, but I've come to the realization that I have to put so much money up front now for the future, because I realistically don't think in 7 months there will be this many copies of these cards raw in Japan. You know, there might still be a decent amount, but not in this quantity that I've been purchasing. And realistically, I don't think for this price point. Oh my god, these are all stuck together. These penny sleeves all stick. Probopass. This is a beautiful Arcanine artwork. I love this card. And so for that reason, like, while I do want to see how these grade, because I mentioned in the past too, like a lot of these cards have minor scratching. They have very light wear. And to be fair, like that just might be how they come out, how they released. But like I don't know how they're going to grade. But I can't wait 7 months to get these cards back to then decide to buy more and see how the market holds up in 7 months. I have to put more money up front now to just buy the stock and try to get ahead of it all. So we're going to move this. It's the third one. And as I said, 300 cards is kind of a lot to go through. But I initially, this order was originally 400 cards. But then I just, first off, the bill was insane. I'm getting these with no subgrades. I mentioned that for the past couple months that I'm sending in with no subgrades. But like still the bill is expensive for 400 cards, which if you don't know as well, 400 is, I believe, the max that one bulk order can be. For I think a myriad of reasons that's the case. So I just put it to the max, 400 cards, but it was going to cost me $5,100 to grade all that. And obviously, I do this for business, so you know I'm not afraid to spend that much on grading. But that is a lot of money, and the reason like I think that's so shocking to realize like how much money that is $5,000, $5,100. That's probably like double. That might be close. No, I would say that's around double what the average income is for a month. And just to have to, that's so much money to tie up in credit and grading. So realistically, I just decided I'll cut it to 300, and then I don't know. Like if I cut it to 300, I can just move that. Like there's a lot of reasons I cut it to 300. One thing was I didn't want to have to charge that much at once to credit, because then I obviously have to pay that off. And if these cards are slow movers, it's a lot scarier to have to come up with 5,100 than I think this came out to like 3,800 for the 300 cards. Sorry, I'm like rambling. I'm really like losing my thought here. So part of it was the actual cost of grading was incredibly high. $5 grand at once to pay is a lot. And the way I saw it is like if I did 300 card submissions, if I could pretty much get an extra month worth of submissions by just cutting it by 100, because the amount of money I'd save adds up to 1 month per long. And that's the way I want to do it too, is like I don't want to be having to submit a bunch of cards at once and just banking and waiting on that to come back. I want to consistently submit month after month. And that was like another reason with just the amount of cards is if I send 400 cards now instead of 300, that's an extra 100 that I just lose out on. And what I should do instead, and what I rationalize is I should spread it out. Just take that 100, extra 100, and move it down the pipeline. You know, grade it. I'll send it maybe next month instead of this month. But just, there's no reason to tie up 400 cards in a single order anymore. In the past, it made a lot of sense when CGC had, like before those price increases, I think it made a lot of sense to send in hundreds like that. But like, I'm in no real rush to get these back, so sending them in 300 card lots, it makes sense financially, it makes sense timeline-wise, so that's how I justify it. I'm sorry if this is super boring to go through, but like, I've shown off a lot of these cards, and to be fair, I forget what I even put together. Like, I had these cards set aside for a month. I was going to send these in early October, so I sent my last order late September. The issue that I had with that was it got lost in the mail for 2 weeks, so then it didn't get to them until mid-October. And the issue with getting to them in mid-October is if I want to spread out every order by about a month. Oh my god, I'm getting like so flushed to explain this. I want to submit once a month, but because my September order got pushed back into October because of USPS delays, I didn't want to send another order in October, so I was just going to wait till November to get this out. And now I'm sending it early November. And I maybe could wait like a week or two before I send these out, but like I don't want these in my house. They take up too much room. I don't have that much room for everything, especially because I'm speculating on a bunch of other things. Like I'm starting to buy up English video games, sealed video games. I'm starting to buy Japanese video games. I'm buying more comic books to grade and clean and sell. So like that stuff takes up a lot more room than cards. So if I can just reduce the amount of, like, these cards are all going to get graded anyway, so I might as well just get them out sooner than later. And then, besides space, I mean, just in this whole hobby, in this whole process, like, the faster I send it to them, the sooner I send it to them, the sooner I get it back. Dragonite, oh my god. These are good cards. These are really, really nice cards. Venusaur EX, Charizard, or not EX, Charizard. Is there a card behind this? Might just be a Venusaur. Oh, another Charizard. Drift Blim FB. Nidoking, the LP, by buying all these cards, I really just came to love LP artworks. A shiny Shinx, this one's super beat up, but I've always heard that this card is just notorious. These shinies are just notoriously bad in condition because of how they did the fronts. Oh, look at that Altaria. This might be from a deck. Yeah, those shiny cards like that Sphinx are just, the quality isn't great and they're all beat up. I'm a little disappointed. The card shop I bought that from sold it to me as a near mint plus card. But with that amount of chipping on the front, I probably disagree with that. LP. Look at that. I think I sent a lot. Yeah, I sent 6 of these. I love this artwork. A friend of mine sent me a picture of this a while ago, and I was just going to buy it graded. Because at that point, I didn't realize how cheap the LP hollows still were. Oh, this one's so good. Arcanine, and you see the Firestone in front of him. Shuckle. Look at that hollow, too. Just the way they did it. Really beautiful. This one's... I gushed over this in the last video I did, but like I was showing this when I purchased it, but look at that art with the moon. This Mucky X is an ugly card, but it's almost funny how ugly it is. Look at that. You can't even tell. It's so dark. Ampharos. Is this a read? Oh, no, it's not. And then some Kyogre EXs. If you notice, these are non-hollow. Those are a Koro promotional card from the Koro magazine. They're just glossy, non-hollow EXs. There was also a hollow version that came out in the packs, in the magazine, but those are just more expensive. So that's why I didn't buy them. Regigigas Level X, Salamance. Look at this art. Ooh, I never noticed that too. Omnistars in the background. It's really cool. Ooh, this card might be, if you get the Omnistar from the set, you might see the Kabutops in the background. Swampert throwing, I believe that's Mudball. Cyrus's Electrode. This is from a Check-Lane blister. Not Check-Lane, but they had like blister packs in that era. Porygon Z, Xatu, just so much LP. Even more Clefairies. Wobbuffet. And I really like this Metagross, just that artwork in the back. And then some celebrations. This is the part where I'm not sure if I'm going to love myself for doing this or hate myself. I'm holding off on sending more celebrations until I end up buying more. So I'm just going to send a small amount now. I think Flying Pikachus are just great. I'm going to probably buy 50 of these and 50 Surfing Pikachus in Japanese, just because they're quite cheap. And then Greninja Gold Star. This is, just in my opinion, one of the best modern cards that you could buy right now. Like $4 a piece. That's so good. It's been joked that it's a blue chip, but Greninja is really is the most popular Pokemon in Japan. I think by a pretty decent margin. So I think there's always going to be demand for the Greninja Gold Star. So that was the end of those bags. And then the cards that I card sabered to end this submission for bulk is just Charizard VMAXs. These, I don't want to say blue chip, but I think Charizard's always going to be popular. And I guess what I do as well, if you don't know, is I do bulk orders, and then in the bulk order box, I also throw in a higher end order. So here we have the 2021 Champions Festival, not Champions Festival, Player Ceremony. These card is just given out to players in Japan who qualify for having a certain amount of points. I might even buy more of these because they're so cheap, like 150, but this artwork's great. Just super nice. This is just the Shadowless Charizard. Some Ho-Ohs from Cult of Legends. Oh, these are nice cards. Like, these are actually high-end cards. Mew. So this Mew and Lugia, I'm sending them in. I would typically send these bulk, but they have like very minor edge wear and scratching. I would say these are pretty consistent with a lot of the other cards that I purchased in Japan from this era. So I'm going to send these at a higher tier just to get see what they grade. I just kind of want to see what these end up grading. And then finally ending it on just a really cool card. A really nice promotional card. Pokedude. You can see in the background it has, I believe it's Ruby and Sapphire. That's from Ruby and Sapphire. It's a super cool promo card. But yeah, that's the submission 300 bulk cards to CGC. Sorry if it seems like I'm rushing this, but I actually wanted to do this video. I'm going to package everything up now and then drop it off at the post office right after. All right, thanks for watching and have a nice one.